Good afternoon, everyone, and hopefully we are managing to catch a few of you live, perhaps on your lunch break. My name's Jack Matthews. I am the Geoheritage Conservation and Interpretation Officer here at the Charnwood Forest Geopark. And today we thought we'd give you another one of our impromptu live streams from somewhere in this wonderful region in Leicestershire, just to take a moment to say what's so important about the place we are today and answer a big question, which is, what is a geopark? So some of you might recognize these very characteristic rocky crags that are next to me and behind me. These are, of course, the rocks of Beacon Hill, right at the center of our geopark here. It's a triple SI and it's managed by Leicestershire County Council. I should say a triple SI is a site of special scientific interest. And not only is this area important for wildlife, but one of the very important reasons why it is designated is because of its very important geology. These rocks, as with so many others in Charnwood Forest, are some of the oldest in England. They're older in the rest of the UK, but these are some of the oldest in England. And what's interesting about these is, while it's commonly been said that these rocks are from a volcano, the real story is actually more interesting. These rocks are around 565 million years old, probably a little bit older than that, because the closest date we've got is just above these. So older than 565 million years old, and they were deposited in the bottom of a sea. So around 565 million years ago, there would have been a chain of volcanic islands, much like you would see in the southern part of the modern Caribbean. And these were the sediments that were being deposited in the sea off the coast of these islands. Now, we think that the volcanic center where these islands were, where these volcanoes were, was probably somewhere to the north of here, probably northwest, so towards Whittick, and that area is probably where the volcanic center was. But here, 565 million years ago, would have been the bottom of the sea, and we can see that in the sedimentary layers. So you might see a slight dip to the beds here, dipping down in this direction. They're the sedimentary layers. But the volcanic story is still in these rocks, because while those volcanoes were erupting to the north and the west, they were chucking out loads of volcanic ash, and that was mixing with the sediment here, percolating through the water and being deposited. And if you take samples of these, but please don't, because it's a protected site, but if you were to pop along to our wonderful partners at the British Geological Survey and see the specimens that have been taken from rocks around here, and you look at them under a microscope, you can see shards of volcanic glass, proving the volcanic origin of some of these rocks and the fact that they incorporate volcanic glass. But they are, in fact, sedimentary rocks. And of course, over the intervening 500 million years since they were deposited, they've also been squashed. So they've been lightly metamorphosed. This is the wonderful story of Charmwood Forest. We've got a sedimentary rock that is associated with a volcano, so has a little bit of igneous influence, but it's also been lightly metamorphosed. So you can tell a lot of the areas of geology, you can tell that story through the rocks of Charnwood Forest. I should say, if you have any questions, please do put them in the comments. This is one of the first of these live streams that we're doing, impromptu, so we might be catching you off guard. But if you have any questions, do put them in the comments, and I should be able, if you ask them right now, to respond to you straight away. Hopefully, I will know the answer. So yes, Beacon Hill, 565 million years old, deposited in the sea off the coast of a chain of volcanoes, which was probably somewhere over there towards Whittick and the north there. Now, the other big question we want to tell you about today is, what is a geopark? We have named ourselves the Charmwood Forest Geopark. This is the public name for the Charmwood Forest Regional Park and the Landscape Partnership Scheme, with 18 partners coming together to work to protect, conserve and celebrate this absolutely amazing area of Leicestershire. And a geopark is an area that has internationally significant geology that is used for sustainable economic development and also for education. And it's an initiative that is associated with UNESCO. So you might have heard of a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but there are also 2 other UNESCO designations. I should say UNESCO is the United Nations Organization for Education, Science and Culture. And as well as World Heritage Sites, they also designate biosphere reserves. And there are a few of those in the UK. You might know the Dovey Estuary in Mid Wales is a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, and also UNESCO Global Geoparks. And UK UNESCO Global Geoparks include the English Riviera down in Torquay, the Black Country to the west of Birmingham, Wolverhampton, Wensfield, Dudley, beautiful area, industrial geological heritage, and the Northwest Highlands right up in the north of Scotland. And our aim here in Charnwood Forest is to become a UNESCO Global Geopark, to bring international accreditation to this very, very special area. That's going to take a while. It's going to take a few years. A bid has to go into Paris to the UNESCO headquarters, and then we'll be evaluated. But our hope is in the next few years, we will be able to put that bid in. Now, there's 3 things I talked about there. One was international significance. Our international significance here in Charnwood Forest is really all about our fossils. As I've said, there's many different stories that we can tell through the rocks here, but our international significance is the fossils that can be found in Charnwood Forest. They are incredibly rare, from around 560 to 565 million years old, and they're what's known as the Ediacaran biota. They are some of the first animals in the world. And if you're a paleontologist and you want to understand why the world went from being a world of microbial life for many billions of years to being the animal world that we know today, you need to come to places like Charmwood Forest Geopark to see that transition. And that's our international significance. But that's not to say there aren't many other geological stories that we're going to be celebrating. The stones that have been used to help build Britain, the Triassic deserts that were around here, the glaciers of the recent Quaternary period. We're going to be telling all of those stories as well. Now, it's not just about having internationally significant geology, it's also about using that for things like education. So we're going to be working with local schools and schools around the country and the world to celebrate the story of Charmwood Forest. You can't conserve or protect an area if you don't understand it. And that's going to start working with schools. So we're already out talking to schools and going into classrooms to celebrate the wonderful geology of this area and the important story it tells in the evolution of life on planet Earth. And the other thing is sustainable economic development. We want to make sure that people who are coming to see these amazing sites are also supporting local businesses and local communities. That's the way that you collect the money to help look after these places. And it's right that when we have people from all around the world coming to these sites, that supports local businesses, and we do so in a very sustainable way. We know that there are issues in this area around transportation, how people can get in and out, parking, and the impact that visitation has on these sites. So we're very conscious that as we work to celebrate the geopark and celebrate that story, putting in interpretation and working with local partners, we want to do so in a way that never puts these sites and our local communities at risk. So we're very excited with some of the projects we've already got off the ground, working with local parishes, working with local communities and local businesses. And if you're interested in that, please do get in touch via our social media or our email. And you can get in touch with me at jmatthews@nationalforest.org. And I can see we've got our first question. Thank you, Anne Irving, for, I'm going to try and do a very snazzy thing here. Let's see if I can put Anne's comment on the, can I make that go? We're doing this for the first time. There we go. Anne Irving's comment is up on the board. Will you erect boards listing local shops, pubs, and other businesses? Great question, Anne. We're at the start of this phase now. We're about 10 months into a multi-year project. But what you're talking about there is exactly the kinds of things we want to do. We know that we have an amazing story to tell here in Charnwood Forest, and people from all around the UK and hopefully all around the world are going to want to come here, and we want to make sure that when they're here, they're supporting local businesses. And so we're going to be working with local businesses. As I say, please do get in touch with us if you'd like to know more. We should be also say this today is the day after Leicestershire Day, and there's going to be a big celebration tomorrow with some of our local partners. So look out for that also. But absolutely, we want people supporting local businesses when they're here. That's how we make this sustainable, both economically and in terms of looking after the precious, precious resource we have here in Charnwood Forest. So yes, we're very interested in that. And I should also say, it's not just about, we also want people to be sampling some of the amazing local produce that's around here that's influenced by the geology, because that's another thing we want to celebrate here at Charnwood Forest, the way geodiversity influences biodiversity, and then it influences all the wonderful things that we can eat and enjoy. So whether it's honey or milk or venison, there's so many wonderful geofood stories that we're going to be connecting people with so that they can experience the geology in all sorts of ways. A geopark is not just saying, aren't these amazing rocks that were near a volcano? They are also about connecting that with culture and built heritage and history and the landscape. And food and local commerce is part of that too. So I hope that's answered your question in at least a part, Anne, but we'll have some more concrete examples for you to come. And oh, there we go. It worked quite well, didn't it? Thank you very much. At that point, I think we have wrapped this up. So remember, Beacon Hill is not a volcano. It's more exciting than that. It was in the deep sea, just off a volcano, 565 million years ago, with sediment and volcanic ash being mixed together. And you can see those layers, and you can see it dipping behind me. That's your lesson for today. And thank you very much for joining us. We'll have another. Some of these will be impromptu, some of these will be scheduled. We'll try and let you know in advance. But if you have any other thoughts, you're watching the replay of this, do pop your thoughts in the comments. Do you like this? Do you have any other questions? We'll get back to you in the chat. But I think that's enough for today. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon for another one of these impromptu live streams for around Charmwood Forest Geopark.